Delta has a bit of an Airbus and equally engine problem, specifically concerning aircraft produced by this plane maker, which come equipped with Pratt & Whitney engines. The airline, thanks to reporting driven by Bloomberg and its sources, is being forced to go as far as cannibalising some of its undelivered aircraft. A decision to cannibalise planes essentially strips the working engines from new and upcoming Airbus single-aisle aircraft and then sees them transported towards the United States. Once the engines arrive in the airline's hands in the US, they are then applied to aircraft which are currently grounded in a bid to restore capacity as soon as possible. Then, as a result, with the engines stripped off upcoming Airbus aircraft, well, these remain in Europe without engines. It's a lose-lose scenario in a way for the US company, which is in the midst as well, you have to remember, of a fleet upgrade. Also, you'd make the case that for an airline just simply the size of Delta, they are continuously welcoming in new aircraft and also seeing planes exit. Delta can basically either bring back grounded aircraft into service, and it's going to face a shortage in the delivery of new commercial airplanes, or it can take on new planes, but its existing fleet will be grounded, and they'll also sit without working engines. So really, you've got a trade-off that is just not beneficial however you look at it. The aircraft family affected is the A320neo, with the A321neos, the higher capacity model, specifically playing a role in Delta's renewal as they focus on the implementation of better efficiency on short to medium haul routes, and therefore they transition from the older gen type towards the newer. That is a transition that is occurring slower than maybe one would have hoped. While engines are a cause for concern and are felt around the world with other airlines too that rely on Pratt & Whitney to power their planes, it doesn't remain the only struggle that Delta faces. That is why each little issue is all the more compounded. For Delta, the ability for new planes to get seats certified by regulators has become a problem of late, and this goes on to delay the delivery of new planes if it wasn't for the engines already, or even just the putting together of key fuselage parts. Additionally, Delta has long been concerned about the potential impact of tariffs on its future, particularly in its dealings with foreign aircraft manufacturers, and yes, I'm looking at Airbus here. As part of those fleet renewal efforts I keep speaking about, accelerated during the pandemic, and now trying to build for the future, Delta has placed greater reliance on Airbus instead of Boeing, ranging from single aisles to wide bodies, and due to this, the future fleet makeup will be more heavily weighted to Airbus. Still, with the continued threat of tariffs, there have been visible concerns about the costs that would be associated with taking on some of these new planes. Delta has hinted several times that it could be forced to defer the delivery of new aircraft, which are, I should say, already being delayed, or in a worst case scenario, cancel orders, because for them, it wouldn't make sense to take on these planes. That would have some pretty hefty ramifications. I think that could be a video in itself, but until actually that materializes, there's no need to have a look at those ramifications. I'm sure you can speculate in your head, however. Think of delivery slots and much more. The US carrier has already been forced to find workarounds with Airbus across recent months with new commercial aircraft deliveries. Instead of opting for a very simple transatlantic delivery flight, we saw planes heading towards Japan first before then crossing the Pacific, the long way around the world. However, while there are challenges across the business indicative of the operating environment and global landscape, it's not all doom and gloom for one of the world's biggest airlines. In fact, they reinstated their annual forecast after the second quarter surpassed their expectations, and they predict a strong remainder of the year as people do continue to fly even despite uncertainties that face many markets. Delta simply going to adjust its network as it sees fit to make sure it's using its assets to the best of its ability. Let me know your thoughts on the situation that Delta finds itself in, with Pratt & Whitney engine woes affecting currently grounded aircraft, but also putting a bit of a nail in plans for fleet renewal. Take care, be safe, and I'll see you tomorrow.